on G4. It's surprisingly the G pawn is on G4. But if it was on E4, the only way for a pass pawn would be to trade. Play F5. Now, at least you have G5. That's a pass pawn already created. So better chances than usual for a 2-on-1.
Yeah, and it's actually very easy to blunder the pawn here. I won't make any moves after this, but just to show everybody, after G5, King F5 is a terrible move. It allows Rook F7 and then Rook F6, and once the pawn is lost, G and F against King is like, Nihal can win this with like 5 seconds. I mean, he has beaten me with like 5 seconds, even without increments. So after G5, you want to play King G6. Whatever you do, the King has to stay firmly anchored to the pawn.
That's right. And notice how the Rook is staying on the first rank. As soon as Black plays moves like Rook E4, the King will come up to F3, attack the Rook, and go from there. Instead, he's hanging around that first rank because whenever the King goes up, he gives a check from behind.
And whenever the King goes down, you can attack the pawns. So it's so hard for Nihal to actually make any progress or pose any threats. The one trick that I've seen is to put the Rook on A7 and try to push G5 at the right moment, dislodging the King from the pawn. It's hard to set that up, though, and Anish is defending this like a champ, but Aman, with every ticking second, the likelihood of a mouse slip increases. Don't pre-move anything. Watch where your opponent puts the Rook if you're Anish Giri.
Nihal is going to exhaust every resource from this position.
And every resource from different positions.
Exactly. There's another position somewhere that's exhausted looking at this game. Because your idea is almost possible right now. Like G5 check. And Rook E7.
But then Rook E1. That's why. That's the third reason Anish has kept his Rook hanging around. He's got 2 squares on the E file, and he's got just enough. You can't cover both of them at the same time, but Nihal, he's going to try. He moves his Rook around to H6 maybe.
And don't worry if, Nihal gets lower on time. Because at this point, it doesn't really matter if he's got like a minute, 2-minute time advantage. If it's a time scramble at all, Nihal likes his chances.
Yeah, 30 seconds on 30 seconds, he'll probably win Rook versus Rook. And he is going to try to flag Rook versus Rook at the end of the day. This is another scenario for Anish not to be worried about. Yeah, he's cut off along the F file, but you can't play G6.
That's right.
You can have one thing or the other thing, but not both. It doesn't matter.
White's cut off as well.
White's cut off as well. And, man, now I really don't see much of a way to make progress, Aman. In 3 minutes, let's take a moment to appreciate how fast Anish has played and how accurately. He's played this like a bullet champ so far. I mean, this can all change in one blunder.
Yeah, one single move going wrong, especially in an endgame like this. One move could be the difference, and it likely will be the difference between them. So I agree with you. The fact that Anish has kept up on the clock is exactly what he needs.
Oh, he's missed Rook F6 and King G4.
Now the King's going up the board.
Oh, my God. The eval bar is showing a win. Rook H1, Rook H1. You have to cut the King off, but then I think
Rook H1, yeah. And then Rook H6.
Apparently the winning move is F5. You trade the pawns, and then the King being cut off is actually significant.
And if you trade the Rooks in that position, at the end of the line,
you're losing.
There's King F8, and you lose a King and pawn endgame.
Oh my God. Apparently Anish had to play a well-timed E6, E5, sacking the pawn temporarily. That was an impossible move.
But does he have to find F5?
I think he does, because if he plays Rook H6 to pave the way for his King, Anish can throw his Rook on F1. I think that might hold. F5 is a winning move, and Nihal can sense that that winning move is somewhere.
Yeah, he's spending some time. Unbelievable.
This
F5.
is insane. He's won the 3-on-2, and he's not won yet, but he's completely winning. He's getting his King to G7, and that's a Lucina position. You learned that in your mother's womb if you're Nihal Sarin.
Yep. Yeah, actually, because the King is cut off, and we were saying the King's cut off on E7, so what? The White King's cut off as well.
Now it matters.
Now it's not.
Yeah, Anish is going to come up to me and say, hey, you said it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Well, now it matters because White's King has a clear pathway to the G7 square. And when he reaches G7, you can start pushing the G pawn, and then the F file, Amon, that's the last thing. It gets opened, so you can move the Rook down in order to be able to push the pawn.
Yeah.
This is now officially winning. I don't see any way for Anish to pull it off. He's down to 2 minutes, you can tell.
The longer that he thinks, the more confident Nihal gets. Because he knows that he's just delivered a haymaker blow. F5, if it gets taken, the King recaptures and hides behind that G pawn on G6. There are no checks to throw it off. And meanwhile, the Black King is a non-participant.
And if Rook G1 check trying to draw the King away, it goes the other way. King H5, whoop, it goes through G6 one way or the other, either through F5 or through H5. And finally, Amon, if you play E5 now, well, it's way too late because White then goes Rook E6 and picks up the pawn. This is over. 1.5 minutes. I mean, Anish can sense it. We can all feel it. Even if you don't know the rules of chess, look at Anish's face. Look at his time usage. Nihal, he's taking a sip of water. You know what that means.
That confidence sip right there.
He wouldn't be sipping water if he felt any nerves in his system. This is going to take me some time to process. How did he do that?
Yeah, it was his comfort level with being cut off on E7 because it worked before. But then Nihal found a way to make it so that that was not the case. And Anish just didn't notice the difference. It was so subtle.
It was subtle, and it tells us how difficult it actually is to draw these endgames, 3-on-2, 2-on-1. You know, I did mention him on when Anish traded on G4. H and F versus E might be the most difficult 2-on-1 to actually draw.
Definitely.
I think Anish should have tried to keep the tension, make Nihal be the one to take on G5. I think practically that would have been a lot easier to draw, and you can see I don't even know what the word is, devastation. That is a lot of money. Nihal Sarin is into the finals.
Unbelievable turn of events as Anish Giri loses on the board
there.
A rook endgame, and we do see that look of elation from Nihal Sarin. A hearty congrats to him, but unfortunately that's the end of the tournament for Grandmaster Anish Giri.
I think the key operative words were on the board. The clock had nothing to do, okay, it had something to do, but not much to do with that win. And
right.
There it is, folks. You see it on the scoreboard in front of you, 5-4. Nihal Sarin defeating Anish